Jean-Paul Sartre or some other great writer. The evidence of his punk past, to the contrary, Barnes was highly intelligent, a thinker who, when not involved in criminal business, liked to read everything from thick biographies of history's great leaders to dense constitutional law texts. Barnes and Gallo hit it off and began engaging in long discussions to whittle their time away. Given Gallo's experience in the mob, Barnes knew he could learn a lot, especially about how to operate a drug trafficking enterprise. Soon, the monologues drifted toward discussions about organizing the black gangsters in Harlem into a syndicate that could rival the Italian-American mob. Some sources say Gallo was ahead of his time, meaning that during an age of rigid segregation, he was not afraid to have blacks join his gangs, much to the chagrin of his racist mafia cohorts. One police intelligence officer told the press in 1975 that, "From what we had been able to determine, he, Gallo, was one hell of a teacher. He schooled a lot of blacks in Attica, Sing Sing, and Greenhaven. He taught them how to move in traditional mafia territory. And they did." Donald Goddard, the author of Joey, a biography of Joe Gallo, offers a different take. Gallo didn't like blacks, Goddard writes, and further, he was a terribly prejudiced guy. Goddard saw Gallo as a white equivalent of Malcolm X, who was rising above prejudices, just as Malcolm X rose above his own prejudices. It is wrong to suggest the Italian-American mobster and the revered black Muslim were brothers under the skin. Still, it is clear that Gallo had to make a move for the sake of his survival. In reality, he had burned all of his bridges to the Italian-American mafia. The bloody war that Gallo had instigated prior to his arrest was actually a rebellion against powerful godfather Joe Profaci. The brash Gallo kidnapped several members of Profaci's family, demanding a bigger share of the profits. By the time Gallo went to prison, 12 mobsters were dead as a result of the gang war. As mob historians suggest, jail probably saved Joey Gallo's life. He also confessed to sources on the outside that he felt white prisoners at Greenhaven were out to kill him. So, caged and cornered, the only way Gallo could survive was through an alliance with black prisoners. Barnes liked the idea of an all-black syndicate with him in charge, and mob-wise Joey Gallo playing a seminal role behind the scenes. He knew that crime was an equal opportunity employer in poverty-plagued Harlem. Hundreds of hungry gangsters could be mobilized into a strong force that could be used to overwhelm the Italians. Once the Black Syndicate controlled New York City, the alliance could easily organize a national syndicate. Barnes and Gallo struck a deal, and to further the plan, Gallo arranged for his lawyer to work on Barnes's appeal. Barnes's 25-year sentence was overturned on a technicality, and he was released from prison in 1969. Soon after his release, Barnes called a meeting of Harlem's top gangsters at a bar at 125th Street and 8th Avenue in Harlem. Barnes used all his charisma and powers of persuasion to convince his fellow mobsters that it was time they stopped playing a subservient role to their white counterparts. The brothers worked the streets and risked jail, but the Italians hauled in the cash, Barnes reminded his associates. Coming into the meeting, Barnes had the support of 2 other mobsters, Sonny Woods and Hollywood Harold Munger. But he couldn't convince anybody else, and his plan was defeated by a vote of 7-3. Organized crime historian William Kleinknecht notes in his book, The New Ethnic Mobs, that the meeting was the closest the nation had ever come to having a true black mafia. Queenie St. Clair had organized the 40 Thieves in the 1930s, but its sphere of activity